Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Pikel with League of Items, and yesterday was probably my worst day. Actually, tied, I guess, for my worst day, but the least number of lineups that I cashed. So yesterday we had a 4-game slate. Tomorrow we have a 4-game slate for the LCK and LPL, and we have a 4-game slate for the LCS lock-in special. So I'm gonna do a video for the Infinity Edge podcast through the esports department today for that, and that should be out today. This contest starts, the LCS contest starts tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, so you have a lot of time to get ready for that. You can watch my other video about the LCS rosters. You can look at the Infinity Edge podcast, and then I might go over it a little bit really quick right here, but I might not, just because I'm going to be talking about it like 4 times. If that's the case. But I want to go over the games from last night, preview the games for tomorrow, and then that's about it. So yesterday, let's launch the predictions again. Yesterday, I was pretty heavy on BLG because I knew it was a chance for an upset that a lot of people probably wouldn't have been playing. So I just went all in on that, and that's just something that I do sometimes. I think it's, pretty reasonable. So Zika was 11.6%, 1.9% at captain. He was one of my favorite captains last night because I think that he has tremendous upside. One thing that a couple people have mentioned to me is that he played Galio twice last night, and he seemed upset when his coach locked in Galio. So in my Discord, I kind of had an explanation for that. I said... So Pride of Cucamonga asked me, on the BLG JDG broadcast, it appeared that Zika was upset with the Galio picks. Dagda stated in BLG's first match against E-Star that Zika is better on mages like Silas, and he played great on TF. Is Galio a mage, and could there be early dissension on BLG? So first of all, no, there's not early dissension on BLG. They might disagree with one another, but I don't think it's gotten to the point of like people dissenting. And then let's take the is Galio a mage question, and then also, like, should Zika be playing things like Galio? So, is Galio a mage? Galio is a hybrid. The difference is that his ability to carry on his own is much lower than a lot of other champions, like Akali, for example. He needs to be on a playmaker, meaning Zika, to be at his peak, because that's when you're going to get the flashiest plays and be able to make the biggest impact in terms of damage on your own. With that being said, you can have a tremendous impact on the game as a supportive champion, like as not the focal point of your team, but it's fundamentally different. And I'm assuming a player like Zika wants all that pressure, wants to be the guy to carry, wants to be the one making the flashy plays, which is a good sign, if anything, for me. So then I said, either a control mage or an assassin is normally thought of as a traditional mid lane champion. Nowadays, meaning the past few years, you can include some AD champions like Lucian too, but a champion like Galio is basically taking away some of his ceiling for sure, meaning his ceiling in playmaking ability and damage output. In terms of DraftKings, you can still have a crazy scoreline, though, on Galio. And I think we saw that last year with somebody having an 8 or 9 kill game as Galio, because once you start snowballing on that champion, you're very strong as well. It's very good against immobile enemies and stuff like that, but I get why they're not happy about it, if they are unhappy about it. One thing that may have happened in that spot is that they tried to use it as a flex pick, and then it got forced to go mid lane, which is possible. So the coach may say to Zika, like, hey, I understand you don't want to play the champion, but we had to pick it for the flex option in the bot lane. They countered it, and then we had to kind of adjust. With that being said, if that's a possibility, then you shouldn't be picking the Galio earlier with the intention of flexing it if it's going to take away from your winning conditions. Like if Zika and aiming are your win condition. If anything, one thing you might want to consider in the future is that aiming is potentially the primary carry on the team. At least that's how the team may want it to function. You can have two players hard carry. Like you can have both of them doing that, performing that role, but the team will always fall back on a specific style of play, and maybe for BLG that means let aiming get big and try to carry the game. It'll be interesting to see what happens with BLG. I'm big on BLG for the year. JDG bounced back, I guess, might be one way to look at it. But JDG, they lost their first series. Not a big deal. It happens to everybody. BLG was very competitive, though. I know that it was a 2-0 for JDG, but I wouldn't have any negative takeaways from BLG, especially if you think that the draft was poor, because the chances of drafting being the reason you're losing games like a bunch of matches in a row is pretty low. You can accidentally draft well, but that is another thing to keep an eye on. So if there are consistently bad drafts and they're getting beaten by bad teams, then I'd be concerned. But for now, I think it's fine. So I will be playing them more in the future. Nongshim against Live Sandbox. So I had that one. So I think this is just saying that Diokdom and Kellen were the MVPs from the match. DRX beat a Freak of Freak. So I mean, I thought that was a potential thing to happen. I didn't think it would happen personally, but I think I did have some lineups with them in it. So let's see what happened in these matches. Predictions. I don't know why that didn't update. Not a big deal. Let's just go back and take a look at the pick band. So we'll do the Korean ones first, I guess, then. So we had Nongshim won in game 1. We had Jace, Ornn, and Gnar. Peanut was on 3 carry champions against 3 carry champions, so it's pretty even in that respect. Syndra and Zoe. A lot of Zoe, Silas, Jin. I hate Jin. Rel. I've never seen Rel played before, so that was interesting that they brought it out on stage. They must think that it's pretty good. Galio support. Wait, what? Okay. Oh, I read that wrong. So we're seeing a lot of Gnar across China and Korea. The jungle meta is very similar. The mid lane meta is very similar. The 80 carry meta is fundamentally different with Samira now from Worlds. So that's why we're seeing some more tank supports, because a champion like Samira can just roll over caster supports. Let's see. So Nongshim was blue side. I'm fine with this draft. I think Aphelios is a good pick. I know that's going to get more popularity soon. So it was blue side, blue side, blue side. Every blue side just basically won every single game. I like Gnar a lot. LS made some kind of statement on Twitter like Gnar's a bad champion. I don't really see why he would say that. Gnar was recently buffed, so he could make the argument like those buffs weren't good enough to justify him being played or blind picked or whatever. But I think that the additional 75 range on the hop while in mega form is actually really strong. It like sometimes when you're playing Gnar, you used to have to jump in and then flash ultimate. Now you have to flash less often. So that's a really good it's a really good thing. I don't know why he would discount that. And then DRX. Let's see. Solka. Let's go to scoreboards actually. I forgot that this is the better way to look at it. I'm still getting back into form as well, guys and girls. Show entire page. Okay. Kroko 7-1-14. Okay, so Kroko is a potential carry player. That's good to see. A big game like this. I'm really not surprised at all that a lot of the new junglers are going to be farm-style junglers, just because it's been like that for about a year now, and those are the kinds of players who will have been popping off for the past year or so. Okay, so that's basically it for the Nongshim and Live Sandbox. So the takeaways for me, that's a really extremely low kill score game, and Nongshim won that way twice. So Peanut in general is the kind of player who can have that gigantic upside, but maybe their playstyle will be very low kill score. This is probably going to scare some people off in future matches. I'm not afraid of that. It just happens. Live Sandbox, they had a 28 kill game, which is pretty insane in 6 minutes. So this tells me that Nongshim, when they're losing, they're probably just going to keep going for it. It was also a game with Rel, so maybe that's going to keep Rel from being played as often as it may have been. DRX, so let's take a look. PO6, still PO6, 7-0 and 2. So what this tells me is that DRX, when they're playing up against teams that PO6 is just as good, if not better, they always will have a chance to win and carry through the jungle. I liked a Freak of Freaks last night. I thought they had a good chance, but so far we've just seen the Chinese teams are so much more consistent for DraftKings, which is that is generally how it goes. But the amount of ownership that they get probably can justify you playing more Korean teams if you're playing a bunch of lineups, because eventually the Korean teams that you play are going to be the ones that have the highest kill scores on the slate, and then you can take down a tournament with lower ownership. So you may win less often, but when you win, you'll probably win more. So that's something to keep in mind. Good win for DRX, though. As I've said maybe 100 times already this season, I hate DRX. It'd be pretty funny if they ended up being a middle-of-the-table team with a bunch of young players. That'd be very interesting to me. Maybe they just knew that they had all these other players and were willing to let Deft and Chovy walk away. But Chovy is the kind of player, I don't know why you'd do that to Chovy. So it might be a spot where it's like Chovy didn't want to wait a year, potentially, for everyone to kind of figure it out. Because Chovy's extremely young as well. So we'll have to see. Maybe DRX can actually be competitive with this roster. In my season long that I had a season long draft, I picked up Solka as an emotional hedge, because if they failed and I threw away $20, I don't really care. But if they do at least okay, then I'll have some good fantasy performances out of them. All right, so that's it for Korea. So final takeaways for Korea. Beginning of the season starts as it normally does. A lot of low kill score games. Genji had a good match, and they were a part of the winning lineup, I think, yesterday. But more focused on winning than high kill scores. And that's probably not a fair way to phrase it, but that's basically that. And then we have the games from yesterday. We went over the first match. Let's go over the second match. Day 2. I guess we are already in week 2. Yeah, okay. These were not the matches. So we had JDG against BLG and RNG against Sunning. So RNG against Sunning yesterday when I was going over the match, I basically said, like, this is a good chance for RNG to prove that putting Xiaohu top lane isn't ridiculous. And Wei is a good player. SFM can kind of troll sometimes and have bad matches. Sunning did pretty well overall. And I also mentioned yesterday, when you get losing supports, so like if you go 2-1, I think the game not played bonus is going to be even better this year, because the amount of tanks that you see with high death totals is going to be higher. So if you can lock in a support with a game not played bonus like the 2-0 bonus, it's probably going to be more valuable this year. At least during this meta specifically. Because look at the difference between the AD carry, even the top laner, and the support. Bin went 1-2, On went 1-2, Bin scored 66 points, On scored 36 points. Because in a loss, you're going to have that big... in those 2 losses, you're going to have really low upside as a support player. Obviously, you're not playing On thinking they're going to win 1 out of 3 games, but that's just something to keep in the back of your mind. So RNG, I'm not going to fundamentally change my opinion on RNG. I think they're okay. This doesn't make them one of the best teams in China for me. I still think Suning is better than them. They just beat Suning in a series, which is a good result for them, but not going to read too much into it. Okay, let's go to Korea first. So we have Genji against Fredit Brion. Genji should win that match. And then Damwon against T1. So it's going to be impossible to play T1 players because you're playing against Damwon and we don't know who they're playing. So my recommendation is if you're playing 50 lineups, then sure, get some T1 into your lineups. If you're playing 5 to 10 lineups and you're going to be upset if Teddy doesn't play again, then don't play T1. Apparently there were rumblings that the starting lineup for T1 was going to use Gumayusi over Teddy anyways, but I don't trust them. I don't think the upside is really high enough. Against Damwon, it might be. But again, like I said, you're potentially lighting money on fire if you get a 0 in your lineup. So it's always extremely difficult to do that. The first match in Korea, you're going to know who's playing at least the first game of the match, but you don't know if there's going to be any sub risks. And then the second match, you really don't have any idea for a team like T1 because you don't know who the starting lineup is and you don't know if they're going to use subs. I honestly don't know what to do with T1. So if there are other people out there saying that they know what to do, go ahead and listen to them. I think for this, it's easily just Genji and Damwon. In terms of DraftKings, Genji and Damwon, they're both up there. Top Esports is going to be extremely popular tonight. That's interesting. Wow, I did not expect this. So Rogue Warriors are the most expensive players. Yeah, so Korea's easy. I'm just going to write this into... let's do... Alright, just typing this out while I say it. So, Genji, greater than sign bro. Alright, so let's get into the Chinese matches, because these are the ones that are more interesting. So Rogue Warriors won their last match against... who'd they beat? Let's go back. They beat Top, right? Yeah, Rogue Warriors beat Top. They lost to World Elite. The transitive property is going to mess some people up in the future, I'm guessing. And then E-Star lost to BLG. I don't hate E-Star, though. So Ziv against ZS. I think right now they're probably about even. I like the potential upside of ZS. I think that since he's coming from IG Youth, I think that there's a shot. He's a very good player and has a big chance of carrying. In the jungle, Haro against Hacker. I prefer Haro. But Hacker is good enough to keep it close. I like Forge more than Irma. But I don't see a gigantic difference there. Michi is playing over Kellen, and I'm not sure why Betty's not playing. Because Betty was just added to the team. So Michi against Rat, I don't know which one of those players is better. And then Chow Chow against Xiaoxi. They're about the same. I think Xiaoxi's probably better in terms of playmaking upside. So the bot lane will probably be about even in my opinion. Top's about even. Jungle and mid should be in favor of Rogue Warriors. Rogue Warriors are going to be extremely popular tonight. Gen G will be extremely popular tonight. Top Esports will be extremely popular tonight. All the favorites are going to be very popular tonight. That's the truth. So you're going to have to go through the different combinations and see what So will I be able to get myself to play eStar? Yes, definitely. Definitely. And then Top Esports against it's Rare Atom, but they used to be Vici. It's gonna be tough for me to remember that. 369 is better than Cube. Karsa's better than Ix and Leon. Knight's better than Fofo. Jackie Love is better than iBoy, and Zhuo is probably better than Hong, or at least even. The thing that I would say about Rare Atom is a lot of people are high on them because they had a good performance in the Demacia Cup, right? So let's see. I don't like Fofo. I don't really know why people are high on Fofo nowadays. Let's go to tournament results. I guess were they Vici Gaming during the last tournament? Oh my god, it's dodging me. Demacia Cup. Yeah, they lost to Top Esports in the finals. They swept Sunning. So let's see. What do we have? Aches is playing a lot of the correct champions. Let's see. Aches, Leon. Okay. So I think most people's player pools will include Gen G, both teams from this match, Damwon, and then both teams from this match. Gen G has already won a tournament this year for DraftKings, so people are going to have good feelings about that. I expect ownership to be pretty high, and they're not the most expensive team on the slate. Rogue Warriors just beat Top Esports. They should be popular because of that. It's a bad angle to take, in my opinion. I think that it's going to just overinflate their ownership, and in terms of their winning chances, I think eStar actually does have a chance to beat them. Just because, yes, I do prefer a lot of the players from Rogue Warriors in terms of talent, but if eStar wins this match 20 or 30% of the time, then I should have exposure to them because the line... What is the line, actually? 165. I think their ownership's going to be... I would think that their ownership is low. So you have to ask yourself, what ownership is eStar going to be owned? If it's 10%, is it worth getting 20%? I think so. I'd be fine if you rolled out 20% eStar. I'd be fine with that. Damwon against T1. With Damwon, at least you can guess who they're going to play. They have a set roster for the most part. I guess Khan could get replaced. I don't think that's going to happen though. Damwon did win a few tournaments last year, I think, right? But not consistently. I think that they had some really low kill score games too. And Damwon against T1 is it's probably gonna be more of a chess match than a bloodbath. So Gen G kind of plays into the bloodbath, which is nice. It's one of the reasons they're a good DraftKings team. To my surprise, like last year, I didn't expect that, but they were. And then for the last match, I think that Rare Adam's ownership is probably going to be higher than it should be. I think it'll be... Will it be a competitive series? I could easily see myself playing a lot of top esports and just saying they're going to 2-0 Rare Adam. Like, I think that's probably a good bet. What's that line at? -303. I think public perception is high on Rare Adam. I think that DraftKings perception is not going to be as high. It's going to come down to what other people are saying. And I try not to look at what other people say because I know what I see with my eyes. And I'll probably have exposure. I'll have exposure to both teams. If I play 10 lineups tonight, I'll probably run some E-Star lineups, some Rare Adam lineups because of that upside. I might fade Rogue Warriors because you can't fade Rogue Warriors. It just depends on how many lineups you're running, I guess. I could see myself fading Damwon Gaming against T1. I could just cross this game off, and if Damwon is the highest scoring team on the slate, then I lose. Oh well. I've lost other ways. So that you have 5 teams, a bunch of different stack options. I'll be going through my sheet later today. And like I said, if you want access to this kind of stuff, like the sheet and my picks in Discord that I don't make clear in my videos, or if you have any questions for me, go through my Patreon, sign up. You'll get invited to my Discord. You have to message me, but I get everybody in as soon as they ask. And there are honestly, there's like a chunk of pretty good players, DraftKings players in the Discord. Every once in a while they're winning, and not everybody plays the same kinds of tournaments. Like, you have some people who play a lot of winner take alls. You have other people who chop the big stuff every once in a while. It's just some pretty good information, and everybody's pretty helpful. Everybody's willing to answer questions. So it's nice. So that's all of it. I don't have any like weird takes on the meta right now. I'm really excited for lock-in tomorrow. Let's go through that real quick, just so we know if I can give some kind of tips on that. I'll do that right now. But I'm getting ready for the other video we're about to do. I'm surprised these haven't come up yet. Knockout stage, no. Single round robin. Matches are best of 1. Perfect. So I'm going to love this tournament tomorrow. I love best of 1s. These are the ones that I feel like I have the best chance of winning. But like I said, if you want to see what I think about these teams more in depth, go check out my other video. I'll have to get the money lines on a different website because they're not on Odds Portal. This is an interesting matchup. TSM against 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves is one team that I'm thinking is going to be strong to start the season. If TSM experiences growing pains, it's going to be at the beginning of the season. I don't think it's going to hurt them long term, but it is something to kind of consider at this point. Team Liquid against CLG. I don't think CLG is good. They have 2 backups. At least 1 backup that's playing. Santorin. I thought they said Santorin was in the States now. Yeah, Team Liquid is better than CLG. I'm not going to play CLG tomorrow. Evil Geniuses against C9. Impact against Fudge is about even. I know people are excited for Fudge, but we haven't seen it yet. Blabber against Svenskeren. I could see myself playing Svenskeren. C9 against Evil Geniuses. I could see myself playing Jizuke. I'll probably have an Evil Geniuses upset lineup. At least 1. But C9 should be the winners of this tournament, I think. Yeah, they're pricing it pretty smart. And then Dignitas against FlyQuest. 2 of the worst teams in the league. Fake God against Licorice. This is going to be an interesting game for DraftKings because everybody's going to see the names over here, and then that'll probably depress this ownership. But this ownership should be about even. Like, C9 is going to be much higher than Evil Geniuses. Team Liquid's going to be much higher than CLG. These two teams are going to be pretty popular. These two teams, Dignitas and FlyQuest, should be lower. They will be lower than C9, Team Liquid, TSM, and 100 Thieves. But if Dignitas and FlyQuest are lower than TSM and 100 Thieves, I think that's a mistake because Dignitas and FlyQuest have the same kind of upside as those teams do. In a best of one. Best of ones is the main thing to focus on in this. So let's see. 15. How many lineups can you do? 50. Oh my god, 58. Wow. So 15 times 58, that's 500. And then 900? Right? 870. I'm not betting $870 on this thing, but I'll probably do 20 lineups. I cannot stress how much I love this kind of tournament. I love best of one tournaments. So yeah, watch out for the esports department video. You can find it through my Twitter. You can find it through Alan's Twitter. He's going to post it, and I'll make sure to retweet it. But thanks for watching, and I will talk to you tomorrow.